Hey guys, welcome back to Ace Recaps. Today I'm going to be explaining a 2023 Korean mystery thriller film titled Unlocked. Lee Nami is an ordinary gamer girl who's obsessed with her phone. After a long night out, she drops her phone on the bus, which is picked up by a mysterious individual. The next morning, we are introduced to the creep who stole her phone, Oh Jun-young. He's a good-looking dude that just stalks the girl and receives her calls but doesn't answer. After her drunken escapades, Nami is woken by her best friend who comes to check up on her. She freaks out not being able to find her phone and calls up her number. Jun-young uses fake voice prompts to impersonate a woman. He feigns innocence and comes off as someone who genuinely wants to return the phone. He tells her that he'll drop off the phone at her dad's restaurant the very night. He then continues to stalk her Instagram account, writes down every detail of her he can find. Not being able to crack the password, he proceeds to smash the phone screen. Meanwhile, the cops come across the ravaged corpse of a woman. The main detective on the case is Woo Ji-man. While having a conversation with another detective, we realize that Ji-man had a son named Jun-young. When he was a child, the detective used to take his son into the mountains to plant plum trees. Once the child grew up, he ran away from home since he was a very mischievous child. As the body was uncovered next to the very tree he planted with his son, this leaves Ji-man to be concerned that his own child might be behind the serial murders. Jun-young is the very same person who found Nami's phone as well. As she eagerly awaits her phone's arrival at her father's restaurant, she gets a call claiming that the screen was accidentally shattered and she can pick it up at a local repair shop as it's all paid for. Nami visits the shady place without suspecting a thing, where we watch as Jun-young acts as an employee himself without revealing his face and identity. Nami writes her password in a form at the shop, giving him full access to the phone. He installs an app which helps him clone the device, giving him full access to her camera and location. This allows him to trace her every move and constantly view whatever she is doing on her day-to-day activities. He listens in on her calls, reads her messages, learns about her likes and dislikes, and even watches her through the phone's camera. A few days go by and he visits her father's restaurant posing as a regular customer. He seems to be very charming and Lee Nami takes a liking to him. That night as she sleeps, the creep downloads every file from her phone. He finds out her address, her building, and even her train route to work. Lee Nami runs an Instagram page about Korean food with a massive following of 450,000. She doesn't monetize this page because she loves doing it and does not accept any sponsorships. The company she works for takes advantage of this by making her post unsponsored ads about loving their food line, causing a massive spike in sales. The CEO of the company is so proud of her and offers her a raise. When she's at work, Jun-young breaks into her home to find out more about the woman. He even finds an old phone and turns it into another one of his spy devices as well. On the other hand, Officer Ji-man finds out the address of his son and goes to check up on him. What he finds there shocks him to his bones. Thousands of fake business cards with fake professions, all the notes about his victims, and the phones of the deceased with their last picture set as the wallpaper. Jun-young returns home and spots his father through the window. He leads him on a goose chase around the area as though he'd been planning their reunion for a long time now. When he realizes he's being tricked, Officer Ji-man rushes back only to find the place ransacked and all the evidence missing. He moves on to Nami's father's restaurant, again posing as a regular. He then proceeds to run into Nami by acting as though he randomly met her online to buy some CDs off of her. Her dad quickly catches onto this and warns his daughter to stay away from this man, as coincidences like these don't happen and he was clearly lying about being a regular at the cafe. Kids being kids, Nami dismisses her father's theory as she's already fallen for the serial killer's charm. Jun-young, who's listening in on their conversation, devises a plan to get rid of the man standing in his way. That night she is surprised by her best friend and they drink and talk about boys all night. Meanwhile, Nami's father, who lives alone, receives a text from the serial killer posing as his daughter to download the spyware on his phone. He does as she says, which leads Jun-young to pinpoint his location. He leaves a parcel outside the house, and when it's about to be picked up, the crazy stalker smacks him on his head and ties him up. Jun-young is the type of serial killer who gets off of causing as much pain as possible to another person by getting close to them. This is why he wants to get rid of the people closest to Nami first before ending her. The police also find dozens of other bodies buried deep in the mountain by the plum tree, meaning that this guy has been doing it for a while and getting away with it. The next morning, Nami wakes up later than usual because the alarm supposedly didn't ring. She rushes to work only to find out that she published an offensive post about her company and colleagues. Shocked that she had nothing to do with it, she tries to convince her boss that she was hacked but is just kicked out of the office as the company has now gone bankrupt due to all customers requesting refunds. Nami along with her best friend try to file a complaint at the local police station to track down the hacker, but they refuse to help them as there's no real proof regarding it. Nami contacts Jun Young to find the hacker who uploaded the picture, unaware that he is the culprit. He uses this opportunity to get rid of her best friend by insinuating that the spyware on her phone was installed by someone living with her. She accuses her best friend for causing this and they both part ways. Terrified and confused about losing her best friend, it finally strikes Nami that the only other person to have her phone was the repair shop. On the other hand, looking at the number of bodies piling up, the officers are confused and also manage to track the repair shop his son works at. They rush there to apprehend the culprit, but the place has been ransacked and evidence of all the victims are scattered all over the room to taunt his father. A while later, Nami shows up at the same place along with the police claiming that there's where the hacker got a hold of the phone. Officer G-Man along with Nami plan a trap for Jun Young, but she isn't made aware of the gravity of the situation. She does not know that he's the serial killer who's loose in the city but instead believes that he's just some creep trying to mess up her life. She baits him by asking him to come over as she's scared that her laptop might be infected as well. The horny dude, hoping to get laid, gives himself a haircut, dresses up well and sets off in his expensive BMW. As he approaches her place, G-Man and his partner hide and ambush him just as he's about to enter Nami's building. But G-Man doesn't recognize him to be his son. Feigning ignorance, they ask him whether they're interrogating an ordinary civilian and without any concrete evidence to question him, the two are forced to let Jun Young go. He texts Nami that he won't be able to come over and switches his phone off, which leads the three to believe that he's onto their plan. The cops leave to tend to some urgent work but ask Nami to contact them with a different phone in case Jun Young returns to her house. They drop her off at her father's place as an extra precaution, and assuming that her dad's asleep, she goes straight to bed. There she suddenly gets a text claiming that they know about the other phone and to call their number. When she does, she realizes that the call is coming from within the house. She finds her dad missing from his bed, and every time she tries to call the cops, the number automatically gets erased, as Jun Young already installed the spyware on her phone when he snuck into her house. She slowly moves around the place looking for the psycho and finally finds him laughing around. He shows her a video of her dad being tied up with a knife to his throat, and the poor girl just breaks down feeling lost and unable to do anything about it. He makes her text the officers that she's fine and then proceeds to lead her to the washroom where he's got her dad passed out in the bathtub. She walks in with a rod to protect herself but is forced to drop it as her father's life is on the line. He ties her up, fills the water in the tub and drops her into it as well. The rise in water causes her father to start drowning. She tries her best to get out but is unable to do so, causing her to feel like she's the reason for the death of her own father. Jun Young on the other hand casually clicks a picture of her and sets it as the wallpaper on her phone. He then walks out thinking his plan is going smoothly, only to find a note that reads, "No texts, only calls." This is when he figures out that he's in real trouble as the cops are on his trail. Before leaving, Nami informed the cops that she's only going to call them and not text them, but when she was forced to send them a message, they were alerted of the psycho's presence. Officer G-Man holds him at gunpoint and beats the living crap out of him, questioning him as to where his boy is, but Jun Young claims that he in fact is his son. Meanwhile, the other cop pulls out Nami from the tub and tries his best to revive her father. Shocked by the turn of events and with blood in her eyes, Nami walks out with a gun and shoots Jun Young multiple times, finally ending his wrath. Luckily, her father makes it and they share an emotional hug. Officer G-Man gets a call claiming that his son's body was found at the crime scene. On further investigation, we realize that Jun Young is revealed to be one of his victims. He found his phone just like the others and learned everything about his life and later decided to impersonate him and turn him into a murderer. As Nami is being strolled out by an ambulance, she receives a message from her best friend wishing her well, meaning the imposter's plan to prove how disconnected humanity is has also failed. The media covers this incident, and the imposter is revealed to only be unconscious, not dead. He was also never registered at birth, meaning he has no identity of his own. The movie ends as we watch Nami's father's cafe getting a lot of attention due to the recent incident. However, another unidentified individual shoots her video from afar, hinting at another stalker. That's all folks. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Have a great day.